Drinking buddies, you will notice my bar is very empty right here. That is because I have my top 20 bottles of the year on the bar right here. And I'm going to do a tournament there where we look at all 20 of these blind and find out what the best whiskey of 2023 is. Let's go.
I'm your drinking buddy.
So, we have 20 bottles up here. We got to go through them all. I'm going to begin with this video as a guide to show you what bottles are going to be in the tournament and what to look out for. First, we have Little Book Chapter 7. This is going to be 118.1 proof. This is a blend of a bunch of previous barrels that went into previous batches of Little Book, and it's really good. Jim Beam Distillery. About $125. Booker's Mighty Fine Batch 2023-02, and this is 126.6 proof. These Bookers are usually right around that 125 proof point. This is about a $90 bottle. It is excellent. It's one of the best Bookers I've ever tasted. It's going in. Jim Beam Distillery as well. Saint's Alley. Now, this one might not be one you're familiar with, but this is one of the best finished whiskeys I had all year. It's 107 proof. It's a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys finished in Pinot de Charance and Armagnac casks. Very, very good stuff. It's a blend of Texas and MGP. Silver Grove from New Riff. This stuff is excellent. It's got a bunch of malted rye in this bourbon. It's 113.5 proof. This is about a $60 bottle. Oh, and the Saint Alley is also about $60. Fiddler Toasted Bourbon. Really, really solid bottle. This one is 120.6 proof. This is MGP wheated bourbon finished in Georgia in toasted barrels. Excellent stuff. I think this could actually surprise me. I think that one actually might surprise me in this tournament. Old Carter Batch 11 American Whiskey. This is 130.4.6 proof. This is a very expensive bottle, nearing $300. I hope it does well, because it's very expensive. Found North Batch 8. This is an 18-year-old and up Canadian whiskey, 124.4 proof with an ex-Madeira maturation at the end. Really solid bottle. I cannot wait to see how this one does. That one is about $200. Found North Batch 7. This is also an 18-plus year Canadian whiskey. Instead of the Madeira, it's got a Hungarian oak maturation on the end. This one is the highest proof we've seen out of Found North at 131.8. This guy was also about $200. Cards on the table. The Found North bottles, the Fiddler, and the Barrel Craft Spirits bottles did come to me from the distillery. I did not pay for those. They sent them to me as media copies. They're good enough to be in this tournament. I'm doing it blind. If you guys think I have favoritism towards them because they give me stuff for free, it's not true. They just make great whiskey. That's why they're in the tournament. And it's a double blind. So, well, I mean, I know there's 20 whiskeys in there, but I won't know what follows in each round. So it's technically a semi-double blind. Long story short, I won't let it get in my way. Speaking of the ones that I got for free, they did give me these. Barrel Bourbon 35. This is probably one of the better barrel bourbons I've tasted. This one is a minimum of 6 years old, sitting at 117.5 proof. This is stuff from Indiana, Tennessee, and Kentucky, like most barrel. While we're on the subject of barrel, Barrel New Year. This is going to be 113 proof bourbon. With bourbons from Kentucky, Wyoming, New York, Tennessee, Indiana, Texas, Ohio, Maryland. That's a mouthful. Really solid stuff. This is about 80. That one's also about 80. Maker's Mark Cellar Aged. This was a $150 release from Maker's Mark. 115.7 proof. It's about a blend of 11 and 12-year-old whiskeys from Maker's Mark, who have never released anything in their catalog over 6 to 8 years. So this was a pretty special release. I'm curious how it does in this tournament. Stag, 130.2 proof, 23A. This is not my favorite batch of Stag in recent memory. The 22 batches I think were slightly better, but it is still a very good whiskey. Could it win it all? I don't know. While we're on the subject of Buffalo Trace, I'm also throwing in Thomas Handy. If this sample isn't enough, lucky me, I got a bottle. They did send me this one from the distillery, Sazerac did. So, once again, I won't know. It's a double blind. Granted, there are not a lot of ryes in here. Is this the only rye? Oh no, I think there's only 2 ryes. They're mostly bourbons this year. Anyway, Thomas Handy, 124.9 proof. This stuff is amazing. It's probably going to win it all. I'm telling you that right now. This is my favorite. I mean, my favorite to win it all, not necessarily my favorite whiskey out of the bunch. Almost forgot my last Found North. Yes, we have 3 Found North bottles. We also have 3 we also have 3 Jack Daniel's bottles. We'll get to those here in a second. Those 2 distilleries knocked it out of the park for me this year. So, of course, they're going to have a lot of representation. Found North Peregrine. This is 20 to 27-year-old whiskeys. 76% corn, 23% rye, 1% malted barley, 126.2 proof. It's delicious. Will it win it all? I don't know. We'll see. Elijah Craig C923. This is just an excellent release from Elijah Craig. This at over 13 years old delivers on so many ways. This is another one of those guys that might sneak out and win the whole thing. It is that good. We shall see. About $90. Forgot to tell you the last couple. Peregrine is $240. The Thomas Handy is $150, but really, that's just the MSRP. Most people pay about $600 or more for that guy. All right, last few bottles here. We have Russell's Reserve 13 Batch 5. It's 114.8 proof. I think this is one of the better releases from Russell's 13. Not quite as good as maybe Batch 3 or maybe Batch 1, but it is still really good and it could win it all. I don't know. $150 retail, though, is a hard pill to swallow. 13th Colony Double Oaked, 136.8 proof. This is the best stuff to come out of any small distillery this year. I mean, obviously Found North is delivering, but on so many ways, but they're an NDP, so they're not producing their whiskey. They're blending their whiskey to perfection. But the 13th Colony juice that goes into this double oak is the best craft whiskey I've tasted all year. This could win it all. About $180 bottle. And last up, our last distillery here is Jack Daniel's. Originally, I was going to say you could only have 2 bottles per distillery, and I didn't think that was fair to 2 companies. Well, 3 companies, really. I didn't think that was fair to Jack Daniel's because they've had a great year. I didn't think that was fair to Found North because they've had 4 bottles this year that I think are better than 95% of releases of whiskey. Second Summit didn't make the cut, unfortunately, purely because I put the 3 other bottles in that I think are slightly better. The other one, Jim Beam. There are 2 Jim Beams up here, but I could have very easily had put 3 in here if I was able to get my hands on the Jacob's Well from Hardin's Creek. If I had got my hands on that, that would be here. But unfortunately, it was so limited and they didn't release it in Arizona, I didn't get one. Jim Beam might be the distillery of the year for me. Them or Jack Daniel's or Found North. Those 3 delivered on so many levels. That's why they got so much representation in this tournament. First up is the Distillery Series. This is the Texas Hosted Pecanwood finish, 120 proof. This was about a $60 bottle, but it is a 375. Jack Daniel's 12. This is 107 proof, 12-year-old Jack Daniel's. It's excellent, and it is about a $90 bottle. And last up, the rye that could take it all. I don't know. Jack Daniel's single barrel proof rye, 130.4 proof. Now, this is the only single barrel in this tournament, which is a little bit tricky because single barrels can vary from batch to batch. You might get a single barrel that you love, and then the next batch you go to buy it and you might not love it as much. However, from what I have tasted of these Jack Daniel's single barrel proofs, they are all really solid and they are really similar from batch to batch. So there's no like, oh my gosh, I had this one and it was terrible, or oh my gosh, I had this one and it was so much better than the rest. Now I can't like the regular ones. We're not seeing that out of the Jack Daniel's so far. But this 134.4 proof one, I think is my favorite I had last year, but like I said, they are all really close. This guy has to go in there though, because Thomas Handy can't go unopposed in the rye category, and this is the second best rye I had all year. It's got to go in the tournament. Where do I put it? I ran out of room. All right, drinking buddies, those are my top 20 whiskeys of the year. Stay tuned for the tournament. We will deliver that soon. Cheers.